Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show, discussing all the latest in Philadelphia sports. As we have moved into the month of April, Phillies baseball returns, and the MLB in general, as the Phillies are on the heels of the opening day game, which was a win. Flyer season closes down, no playoffs. Sixers season closes down. And on the heels of Jeffrey Lurie speaking last week at the NFL owners meeting, we also had Doug Pederson, who spoke and had some interesting things to say, I guess to some extent or one or another, because he doesn't really ever have too many interesting things to say. And we got the Masters tournament this weekend, beginning Thursday at Augusta. We're bouncing around all over the place on the Tyler Werner Show today.
And now,
here's Tyler Werner.
And yes, good sunny day here in the Delaware Valley, Philadelphia area. As now it feels like spring, that's for sure. Yesterday was it was like 72, 73, and today not quite as warm, but still pretty, spring is here. As the month of April rolls in here, we got Phillies baseball that again began this week on Monday with a win, 4-3 win against the Cincinnati Reds. It's not a whole lot to really get excited over just yet, but good opening day for the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm wondering, how if this bullpen can hold up though throughout the course of the season. That's kind of the main concern when it comes to the Phillies right now. And again, there are projections out there that had them as the 29th out of 30th in the MLB power rankings heading into the season. So really, what we have to look forward to in the Phillies this year, I don't really quite see right now. But nevertheless, just the fact that you have the companion of baseball on. It's nice, maybe while you're out grilling in this nicer weather, outside maybe grilling steaks on a nice spring or summer day.
Put some macaroni and cheese on there too.
Listen to some Phillies in the background, or sit down and watch a Phillies game, with a cold beer or whatever on a nice, spring or summer day off. And now again, whether there's going to be a lot of wins to do that this year in terms of the baseball standings, remains to be seen. But nevertheless, it's good to have baseball back, and it's good to have golf coming back as well as another kind of, slower sports that you kind of watch and enjoy. Not like action-packed like football and hockey and basketball, but one of those sports you can kind of sit back and enjoy, like a baseball, like a game of like sort of like a game of team chess in a way, and an individual game like golf. The shots that some of the best in the world, and you got this big turn, the Masters coming up this week at Augusta, and some of these insane shots, and how from a few football field lengths away from a tiny hole, in a few shots they put a tiny white ball. I know it sounds goofy and all, but it's one of those things about golf that is interesting. And whether people don't consider it a sport, they consider it more of a game or whatever, it's fine. But if you call it a game, it's a game I enjoy watching myself. And the Masters tournament, always an interesting watch to me. So I'll be looking forward to it. And again, that's whether or not Tiger Woods is doing anything in the tournament.
yesterday I did pull out.
I don't really care. and neither should you if you're a true admirer of the sport of golf. So we'll talk some Masters, talk some odds as far as because there's an interesting stat out there, and we'll get to it later. We got a lot that we can bounce around with on the Tyler Werner Show today because, again, Phillies baseball season is here. Meanwhile, Dario Sarge had to be sat out, and basically should be just shut him down for the season. And after he had to be sat out the other day, they got a couple games left really to ride out this season, and really at this point, nothing to play for. I mean, they don't need to win any games really, and it's just at this point. The best thing they can do is lose naturally. I guess that's all you can really say because, again, better spot in the draft after this March Madness tournament. That you saw some of the talent, the potential talent. Where the projected talent is going to be drafted. How high up you have to be in the draft to get this guy or that guy. The Sixers could use a guard. So, they can get one at 5'6". But, a good one that can come in and be very impactful for this team. So, that's what I say to that. And what I say to the Flyers season is disappointing. And again, I've continued throughout the season. Ever since that 10-game winning streak. Let's congratulate the Philadelphia Flyers, ladies and gentlemen, for being the first and only team right now in NHL history to have a season that featured a 10-game winning streak and not make the playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. Only your Philadelphia Flyers. As again, I sat back after this 10-game winning streak, and in December, you just started to see them erode. Suddenly, they couldn't win a game, it seemed. And then eventually, it became this thing where it's like they'd win a game, they'd lose a game. They couldn't mount any kind of consistency whatsoever this season. I mean, for the most part, ghost, as they call him, Goshish, became just that, a ghost, and had a sophomore slump. And whether that's, you want to call it a slump, or whether maybe it's a truer sign of what he is, I don't know. You kind of see a, decline in Claude Giroux for the most part this season. And other than that, just not a whole lot of talent on this Flyers team. And they took a step back this year. There was no late season push like there was last year. There was none of that. And you gotta question what the Flyers are doing. You gotta question the talent level that is out there on the ice. In the game this weekend too, there was that, Michael Neuvirth collapse, which was a bit strange. A bit of a scary situation out there. Michael just all of a sudden collapsed. And the last time there was like a goalie that collapsed in the NHL like that, I forget who it was, but apparently it was on Michael Neuvirth's former team. He watched the goalie on the other end have a similar kind of collapse, but I guess he's doing all right. That was a bit of a strange situation here. And I hate to say it, but it's as if that was kind of symbolic of what the Flyers had been doing a lot of this season. Especially after that 10-game winning streak. But But, all kidding aside, this Flyers team has work to do. That's for sure. And I'm frank. I mean, I've been disappointed because I didn't see any really signs of life with this Flyers team for the most part this season. After that 10-game winning streak, they didn't show like anything all season, except during that 10-game winning streak. That was it. So I don't know. I don't know what to think of the Flyers right now. Other than they need this whole minor league stockpile of talent that they supposedly have, that I keep hearing about every year the last several years, it seems. Whatever the talent, we need to start seeing it out on the ice, because we're not seeing it. And this team now that is, being led by Claude Giroux and Wayne Simmons, Jake Voracek, it's not cutting it. And I don't know, whatever Claude Giroux once was for the Flyers, they just aren't anymore. I don't understand. I don't understand any optimism that can really come out of the Flyers right now after this kind of season. They got some work to do. Another year without any Philadelphia teams in the playoffs. And again, Philly's season probably not going to make the playoffs this year either. So you check that out, and then you hope in the fall that the Eagles give us something. I don't know. Again, I don't know if if you want my very premature record prediction for the Philadelphia Eagles and whatever, I mean, I can see a 9-7 right now. At best, maybe an outside chance of a 10-6. But then you got to factor in as well that the Cowboys and the Giants, probably both 11-win teams or better. I don't know if the Cowboys are going to rattle off another 13-3 season like they did last year. But 11-12 wins, yeah. The Giants, 11-12 wins, yeah. Tough division. Eagles, I don't know. I don't see them winning 10, 11 games. And depending on what the other teams do in the at least it can definitely be an improvement year for the Eagles with a team that has a lot of recent one-year signings. Contract year kind of deals with, prove it, earn your next contract or whatever, whether it be here or somewhere else. But it is what it is. And we do got some Eagles talk, because we did have Doug Pederson speak last week. It was like we were in the midst of recording the Tyler Werner Show kind of as that owner meeting stuff was happening and breakfast with the coaches. And so I vowed that kind of review some of the things Doug Pederson says, even though let's face it, he doesn't normally have too many interesting things to say. And I mean, Jeffrey Lurie last week, I kind of applaud him a little bit. He was a little more, a little more honest, I guess you could say. Like, he kind of said, this is, like, we got to be a little patient here. Like, this is not, he wasn't like, this team's ready to go, and, kind of a little bit contradictory to the past, which is fine. I mean, he kind of admitted, like, this team, we have some holes, a lot of holes, he said. And this isn't a one-year project. where the Eagles are going to be a Super Bowl team this year, let alone a playoff team. So, some of the things that Jeffrey Lurie had to say last week was a bit of a change of what you're used to hearing from him. But at the same time, you know, he applauded Howie Roseman when he did. Happy about the Joe Douglas bringing him in last spring to kind of start. Help. He's going to be a major player with the draft. He's kind of going to be the main architect, it sounds like, with the draft this year for the Philadelphia Eagles and some talent evaluation, scouting. Jeffrey Lurie last week did kind of defend, I guess, it was still like giving Chip all that power, and it just wasn't. Again, I'm stead like that was never the right decision, and but I guess we won't even really get too much into that right now, as it's a little bit more in the past. But good old Doug Pederson. Again, sometimes he comes off as not being the sharpest tool in the shed. Sometimes he says some things that don't add up, or sometimes he maybe doesn't totally understand the motive of a question. It might take things a little literally and not figuratively. Here's a little sneak preview of the press conference, which we'll visit in the Tyler Werner Show today. The audio. Here's a little sneak preview of Doug Pederson addressing the media. Breakfast with Doug Pederson last week.
Good morning, Doug.
Good morning.
Can you talk a little bit about Carson Wentz, where he is right now, and what's going on?
I don't know where he is right now.
No, I mean in terms of, what you're expecting from him this upcoming season.
All right, so there was a little sneak preview of Doug Pederson on where Carson Wentz is right now. As Sal Palantonio asked the question, Doug Pederson, which we'll hear the real answer, I guess, later. And Doug Pederson, not knowing, literally, where in the world is Carson Wentz right now, and not, I guess not understanding, at least at first, the question. He could be, where could he be? He's probably out on vacation right now. No, I don't know. He was up in Montana. I'm sorry, North Dakota, Montana. My bad. North Dakota, maybe hunting right now. I don't know. Hunting some bison. But no, I mean, seriously. We'll get into it on the Tyler Werner Show. Some more of that. Of course, the Eagles too. And this happened after this press conference with Doug Pederson addressing the media. But yesterday, the Eagles making another move. That's not, it's not a blockbuster move or anything, but it's another defensive move. The Philadelphia Eagles trading their third-round picks, swapping their third-round pick, essentially, with the Ravens. And in return, the Eagles acquired defensive tackle Timmy Jernigan, who is kind of, at least for the meantime, set to be Benny Logan's replacement, kind of filling that hole right now. So the Eagles, their 74th pick overall in the third round, basically being exchanged for the Ravens' 99th overall selection. So they're moving back in terms of that, and they acquire Timmy Jernigan, defensive tackle. for one thing, you question, because the Ravens, they seem to know what they're doing with talent for the most part. And to be frank, Jernigan, 13 sacks in 3 seasons, not bad. Actually, as far as career sacks are concerned, he, in shorter time, has more than Benny Logan. So, you wonder, the Ravens, apparently his work ethic has been questionable and yada yada, things like that. So, you kind of wonder what the Ravens, quick to get rid of him. He was set to be so maybe they don't want to pay him next year or whatever. I don't know. But he's going to be, basically he's got 1 year on his deal left. So here you go. Another 1-year deal guy coming in here. On top of like Alshon Jeffrey and kind of Torrey Smith and Patrick Robinson, whoever else that they brought in here, the Philadelphia Eagles, recently on short-term deals. But nevertheless, it helps them add a little depth right now on the defense that, has some holes. So not too shabby, I guess, for now. All right, so coming up on the other side, we got more to discuss right here in the Tyler Werner Show. Again, we got some of this Doug Pederson press conference audio to get into. So without further ado, we'll get into that on the other side, right here in the Tyler Werner Show. Stay tuned for more after this.
The champion of game day catering is the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show, Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
We prepare our balls over time, and that's the essence of the preparation.
On top of that, another trademark of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs is Brady's signature rubbing process.
When I pick balls out, to me, they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect. What is a concern is the texture of the balls, and again, that's the point that Tom hit on hard.
The champion of all game day catering dishes is Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show.
It's no big news flash that many people, you included, eat as a way to medicate themselves. You can choose to worry about it or not. You can choose to panic about your situation or not. It's clear what you must do in order to make important changes.
5 letters here. RELAX. Relax. We're going to be okay.
In order for you ever to effectively figure out and map how to get to where you want to go, you have to first know exactly where you are starting.
RELAX. Relax.
You have to be willing to change what you're doing. You can change your behavior.
Back here on the Tyler Werner Show. Philly season opening up again the other day with a win, 4-3 win against the Cincinnati Reds. Got 2 more games in the series with them, and then they got the Nationals coming up after that. Good luck with that series. And of course, again, we got the Masters tournament. PGA Masters Tournament of Golf, or however you want to word. I like that kind of. I don't know. I like that wording. The Masters of PGA Golf, but that, I know that's not how the average person will phrase it. But anyhow, we got some. I guess some interesting odds to talk about with that a little later on. Who's your favorite? There's Jason Day, Phil Mickelson in the mix, Bubba Watson, Jordan Spieth, of course, those top-tier golfers, and last year, I believe it was a 30-1, or no, actually, no, his what were the odds of Willett last year winning it? Sportsline, CBS Golf has this computer simulation. Apparently, that I don't know how they do these simulations or whatever. It's like with football. Sometimes there's like these Madden simulations. It's a video game, but there's this interesting CBS Masters 2017 odds. This computer simulation. For instance, last year, Danny Willett, as I was just getting at, he was a 100 to 25 to 1 underdog, and he won the Masters. And in fact, 5 of the last 6 Masters winners have had odds of 20 to 1 or higher that have won. So that's kind of mind-boggling. So it's like, if you're gonna, based off of that, like if you're gonna this trend is that somebody with 20 to 1 odds or greater against them winning, it's like drawing a name out of a hat. Now apparently this Sportsline projection model ran thousands of simulations to predict this year's winner, and one golfer with a 30 to 1 odds won 5% of the time. That may not seem like a lot, but for instance, a tournament favorite like Dustin Johnson in these simulations only won 7.1% of the time. So apparently this is probably worth taking a look, and you have to be a Sportsline media member or whatever. You have to sign up, register, whatever, to, I guess, see who that is. So I don't know.
Come on, that's terrible!
It's one of those things. But just the fact that these Masters, it's like, just when you pick one of the favorites, it's somebody with like heavy odds against them winning that wins the Masters tournament. Jason Willett, 125 to 1 or something. Tiger Woods, he might have those odds. Maybe you want to get behind him this year. I don't know. No, but that's
yesterday I did pull out.
That's just I don't even know if is Woods even participate. I don't even know if not like I'm really concerned as to whether he's going to participate or not, but it's just like in the these days in the Tiger Woods camp. Let's face it. Another year is going by here, and my proclamation that Tiger Woods will never win another major tournament, it's just, it's like I said. I've said the last few years, ladies and gentlemen, I will say it again. Tiger Woods, you will never win another major. Again, Tiger Woods will never win another major golf tournament. Thank you. That's really, I don't know how else to put it. Well, it just kind of continues to ring true as time goes on here. So anyhow, let's get back. Let's hear some of this Doug Pederson audio. As first it was, Howie Roseman in the month of March free agency, he had his time, and then he spoke, and then the attention turned to owner Jeffrey Lurie, who spoke for the first time in, basically a year, finally. And he finally opened his heart,
You got to
if
open
you will.
your heart.
Mr. Open Your Heart, Jeffrey Lurie, finally spoke. And then we hear from Doug Pederson and what some of his thoughts were on this move. Because, like, for instance, one of them, Chase Daniel being ousted here, and in coming Nick Foles.
How's everyone doing?
And Doug Pederson did have some thoughts to share on that, and let's get down to it. With Doug Pederson speaking at the NFL owners meeting last week, breakfast with Doug Pederson, if you will. And here was Doug and what he had to say last week, some of what he had to say.
And makes that room better. The experience thing is obviously a big factor in what we're doing, and he can lead by example. We got young guys, and this will give our young guys an ability to really watch a guy not only practice but play and create that competition that we talk about all the time.
All 5 starting offensive linemen are still on the team. Are you expecting that group to be your starting group next year?
You'd hope so. You really do. Barring injury, I mean, a lot of things can happen, as we know from last year. We saw 5 right tackles. And so it's exciting going into this year too that those guys are still intact. Jason, a Pro Bowl left tackle, who we feel and I feel can still play at a high level. But it's exciting to have those guys back.
Is the left guard spot open for competition, or how long can you be the starter?
Well, going into the season, going into OTAs, Isaac had showed that he played on a moment's notice. He's a guy that we want to get into the mix. And Allen is a veteran player that obviously, again, has a wealth of experience and a lot of starts in the National Football League. So there's going to be some good competition there going into this season.
So that job isn't locked up for now. It's going to be a competition between those two guys?
Well, you got to throw in, if you're talking about just those two, you got to throw in Wiz, you got to throw in Chance Warmack, some of the guys that we've recently signed. So it just creates that competition that we're always looking for, and trying to find the best 5 going into the season.
Do you expect Jason Kelsey to be on the team in September?
Yes.
So what does it do for Stefan, who kind of signed a contract that would suggest that he's going to be giving an opportunity to start? And do you just see?
Well, again, it's another opportunity for him to compete and compete, on our roster. He had 6 starts last year, and he filled a role that we needed last year, and going into this season, again, it's the beauty of having guys like that, whether they're starters, backups, role players, whatever you want to call them. It just gives you depth at the position, and it gives you that competition going into training camp, going into the season that you want. It's a great thing to have veteran players as backups that, or role players that compete and want to start.
In regards to Mixon, forget the off-field stuff, but what do you see in him just as a player?
As a player, I've watched him a little bit this offseason, and talented player, very explosive, got good hands out of the backfield. You put him in there with a lot of, with a lot of these backs that are coming out. Dynamic, exciting back to watch.
But you feel comfortable having him on your roster, considering the off-the-field issues?
We're always trying to better our roster. I've said that a bunch. With a player like that, those are things that we do our homework on these players. You want to make sure it's the right fit for any team, not only our team, but he's an explosive player. He's dynamic, and I know someone will give him an opportunity.
How important is it to have character people on the football team, and how much do you think about their past?
I think you have to. I love having character people. I think that's sort of the wave of the future, a little bit. You always, every team is similar this way, and the personality of the head coach or the dynamic that the atmosphere that you sort of cultivate and provide. You're always looking for, whether it's through free agency or the draft, guys that fit that. I mean, I can remember back in Green Bay when I was a player there. I mean, those are some of the things I saw as a player that staff did. They want guys that fit the mold, for your team, for your organization, and that's the bottom line. Is you want guys that'll be there for the organization. They put the organization before themselves.
How do you weigh talent against character? Obviously, you've already said you want to improve the football team, but how do you weigh talent against what could?
It's a fine line. It's a fine line, and it's tough. It's tough because, again, you're looking for guys that can fit into your system, and you're always looking to add talent to your roster, but at the same time, you got to make sure that you're doing your homework on these players. Again, whether it's free agency or the draft, that they're the right fit for you.
Doug, why the wave of the future, Doug? What do you mean by character?
Well, I just think that you see so much in society today with all the social media, with all the issues that players or the nation has, and you're looking for guys that they have a passion, one, for the game, but they also have a passion for just being good, upstanding, human beings that you take guys that I love having dialogue with players. You guys know that I mix in there with the team quite a bit, on the field, off the field, and just having these conversations with guys that just getting to know them, and getting to know their background a little bit and where they come from. Because everybody's dynamic. Everybody's unique that way, and having those guys on your team to cultivate that culture, that we talk about, can make you a strong team, and you see that with championship teams.
Doug, why'd
you release Jace Daniel? That was your guy, right?
Yeah, there's tough decisions to be made, and it goes with any player that comes and goes. They're just tough decisions, and he was one of them. But wish him the best, and hopefully he's picked up.
Did that turn out the way you thought it would when you guys signed him to that contract? Give him a lot of money.
I can't. I don't have a crystal ball, but at the same time, when we did sign him, we didn't necessarily have Sam at the time. We didn't have Carson at the time. There was a lot of other variables involved. So it was at the time it was a good signing for us, and again, going forward, we do what's right and try to do what's best for the team.
So why Nick Foles, and why is Nick Foles best for the team in the backup role, and why is he the best, more importantly, for Carson Wentz?
Well, again, I've been in that position as a player. I've been in that backup role, and with a guy like Carson going into his second year, you want somebody that's played in the National Football League, played some games, and has had some experience, and he's been with Alex Smith the last year, and another veteran player, and just brings a lot of the same things that I saw in myself when I was a backup, and we're just fortunate to have him back, and we're excited to get ready for this offseason with Nick and go forward.
Good morning, Doug.
Good morning.
Can you talk a little bit about Carson Wentz, where he is right now, and what's going on?
I don't know where he is right now.
No, I mean in terms of, what you're expecting from him this upcoming season, that sort of thing, his mindset.
Well, I can tell you this: Carson will be ready to go April 17th. He'll be wanting to get on that field, in phase one.
I
think for him coming in the second year, from a leadership standpoint, I think, as a quarterback, sort of the face of the franchise, the organization. He embraces that. I think this will be a big in terms of just his the way he talks and handles the guys around him. Offensively, defensively. He's obviously capable of doing that. I think too, by him going through 16 games last year, there's a level of maturity. We're always looking to improve and to get better there.
Your final exit interview with him, what were your instructions for him in the offseason?
It's like I tell every player, get away, relax. I don't want to see you. You don't need to see me. Get out of the building, go on vacation, heal up, rest, do all those things that you need to do, and be fresh when you come back April 17th, and take some time. Take some time for yourself.
All right, so there's Doug Pederson. And, just addressing Carson Wentz and, not where his literal whereabouts are physically, but I guess mentally, where he is as quarterback here of the Philadelphia Eagles, where he is in his development, and I guess Doug Pederson kind of saying, wants his players to, maybe like Aaron Rodgers would say during this,
5 letters here, RELAX.
And yeah, April 17th is the day, I guess, off-season OTAs, commence. And that's only, it's only less than 2 weeks away now. So, he's wishing his players are out relaxing and not, I don't want to see you. And so, other than that, Doug Pederson, I don't think he had a lot to say, really, at least in the first portion there. He addressed the Chase Daniel release and the bringing in of Nick Foles, if I can phrase it like that. And he was kind of saying how it was a hard move to make, and I mean, to me personally, it wasn't. It was an easy move to me because he was eating up a lot of cap space and eating up more space than than Nick Foles will, and at least Nick Foles as a backup has more experience in the league, so But at the end of the day, Carson Wentz is a quarterback here. You don't want to see. You don't want to have to see your backup play unless it's because you have a game in the bag and you really don't need your starting quarterback out there, or say you're resting your starters because you have a first-round playoff seed locked up, or no playoff implications to play for, or whatever, what have you. But other than that, Doug Pederson, again, it seems like sometimes he just doesn't know how to answer a question, really, as far as I'm concerned. Some of these questions, especially ones that probably were more in the ballpark of Howie Roseman moves and stuff like that, it didn't really seem like Doug Pederson knew how to answer them. Maybe we'll listen to a little more later on the Tyler Werner Show, as we gotta kind of bring things home here and wrap things up in the last segment of the Tyler Werner Show. Until then, though, let's hit another break. We'll be right back after this on this first April edition of the Tyler Werner Show.
Hi there, I'm Hank Hill. Well, I'd like to tell you what Strickland can do to meet your energy needs. You see, at Strickland, the customer comes first. It's kind of interesting, the word customer begins with C-U. Well, we don't see you as just another sale, but as a member of our team. I thought you might enjoy 7.5 gallons of pure premium propane. Strickland Propane, the customer comes first.
attraction, #1 WWE superstar, multi-time WWE champion, Brock Lesnar.
Time to revamp your office space, eh? Looking for an interior decorator? Look no further than Brock Lesnar.
Now that's the way a real man uses a sledgehammer.
Out with the old, in with the new. Give Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman a call.
Mr. Lesnar, you are the future of interior decorator. I think we're done.
And welcome back to the Tyler Werner Show. As we roll on here, there was a, of course we played some Doug Pederson audio in the last segment. But there was, of course, a story. There's much discussion right now amongst, the football world about concussions after this Charlie Garner story that came out this week. His post-football life basically being ruled by fear, as doctors are telling him it appears he's suffering from CTE. After his 11-year career as an NFL running back, of course a former Eagle, at one point in his career. Yeah, I mean the story that came out kind of, I don't know, it rose a lot of discussion over the last few days about concussions and what can the NFL do? Like what can the NFL do? And I don't know what more the NFL can do as far as what they've done in preventing concussions. Not just preventing but working with them. They got the concussion protocol that they do on the side whenever a player gets a concussion or appears to get a concussion. And there's supposedly like Garner one season, he once had 12 concussions in a season. That's just, the sport of football, no matter how much you try to get guys to, not lead with their helmet, and which I'm all for. Like, anytime I see a guy, especially like a defensive back, lead with their helmet to make a tackle, I just think, like, what a dope. Like, you see it, and then sometimes you see helmet to helmet collisions that aren't necessary if you tackle the proper way. If you wrap up instead of this thing where you basically spear somebody with your head, and you look like a dummy because you're putting your own head at risk too. But anyhow, the game of football, though, whether you're a lineman, your head, it gets jerked. As far as technique is concerned, wrapping up and tackling more of the fundamental proper way is one thing. But at the end of the day, it's still, football is a collision sport, let's face it. The athletes, again, over the years, they've gotten bigger and they've gotten faster. And you have freight train-like collisions in this league, no matter what. You can try to pad up helmets as best as you can. Obviously over the years, the evolution of the football helmets that are used out there, to to protect the head further. It's improved over the course of time here, over the years here in the NFL, but still, it's a collision sport. You got big athletes, big fast guys colliding, and it's at pretty high speeds at times. So, I mean, really, to me, it just boils down to anytime there's any kind of, fear of a concussion or whatever, concern, they gotta get checked out. And it's really, I mean, it's up to the players. I mean, everyone who plays out there, I mean, you assume the risk of head injuries, and that's really that. It's hard to, like, what more can the NFL do? So, it's a very unfortunate, story. And, again, Garner's showing many of the symptoms. And, many of the symptoms of CTE, and, it's a shame. It's one of those stories, but at the same time, NFL football all the time. We watch these guys, and we're all about great tackles and stuff, but I mean, there's always that other side to it, I guess. A guy like Charlie Garner, who suffered many concussions over the course of his NFL career. I mean, and it's another thing to, like, to maybe really see, I guess, whether or not the NFL is improving. Like, if they're doing enough that the rate of CTE and CTE diagnosis and concussion, I mean, really, to me, what it boils down to is, in time, if we see, like, the players of today, 15 years down the line or whatever, after their playing career, how many, the frequency of cases like Charlie Garner. If we see less cases, then maybe the NFL, what they're doing is work, but if not, I mean, if we continue to see this in the future, I mean, it's like, what else can they do? And again, it goes back to the athletes. They've gotten faster and stronger and bigger. It's a recipe for some bad collisions and concussions out there. So anyway, that's that in the NFL world. The concussions, discussions of concussions that have been floating around as of late, and what the NFL can do if they really can do anything else. So Doug Pederson, talking about earlier, some of the takeaways. And the NFL schedule, I believe, is set to come out very shortly. Can always hit it on the next edition of the Tyler Werner Show. Always one of the things before the NFL draft comes, the schedule. Even though it's, we haven't even had the draft yet, it's still one of those things. We go down the schedule, and we'll look forward to doing that next week, I believe, when the schedule's out. But some takeaways from the full hour or so of what Doug Pederson had to say. Breakfast with Doug Pederson after the Jeffrey Lurie press conference last week. Something that stood out, I thought, is that Doug Pederson kind of explained what he values in running backs. 3-down guy, the top of the list, mobile out of the backfield, route running ability, running the ball between the tackles. And by the same token, it seemed like Wendell Smallwood doesn't seem like the Eagles' starting running back. Because Doug Pederson said, quote, Wendell Smallwood is a dynamic runner. There's a role for him. Doesn't sound like a, number one, which, again, Smallwood, Sproles, change-up guys in the backfield, but not starting running backs. And it's becoming more evident to me that the Eagles are going to take a running back. And it's, let's face it, I mean, it shouldn't be a big surprise by any means. But we know how Doug Pederson was defending his own players.
And I'm going to keep loving on him.
That's exactly right. Just like Pederson said, this will be a great offseason for Dorial Green-Beckham. A big one for him in terms of proving himself. A great offseason for... He was learning the system last year. To get in touch with Mike Groh and learn is going to be huge for him. And Doug Pederson also isn't giving up on Nelson Aguilar. He said he's one of the hardest workers in the football team. Role on special teams might increase. Ooh. Doug Pederson also believes that Aguilar is capable of playing at a high level and is anxious for him to work with new wide receivers coach Mike Groh. Okay. Whatever. Yeah, again, it's typical defense of his players. I don't really know how else to put it. But it's just kind of silly because these are backup receivers essentially, and I don't, because again now you got Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith as your starters, Matthews in the slot. They're your backups, and then you got to take into account too. I mean, Paul Turner's on the roster. And somebody else, I mean, could also be in that mix as well. So, I don't know. Let's see here. The Eagles, they requested to play back-to-back road games in Los Angeles. He also believes, he expects, I guess you could say, that, well, Bo Allen will get a chance to start now with Benny Logan gone. He didn't necessarily commit to Vinny Curry as a starter. He believes... Well, he says that the Eagles are keeping Michael Kendricks. Here's where I don't. This is what doesn't add up. He says Michael Kendricks is a big part of the team. Expects him to be at OTAs and on the roster come September. Meanwhile, he's a big part of this team. How come he only played about 27% of the snaps last year, apparently, is the stat.
I agree.
He's a big part of this team. Like, why is he only playing about a quarter of the snaps on defense? So, I mentioned last month, too, as free agency was opening up. I believe if they trade him, after June or something, they save $5.5 million in cap space, I think was the number, or whatever. So they'd save more, I think, if they trade or cut him then than if they do it sooner. So I don't know. But Michael Kendrick, he had a promising, a few years ago, looked like he had a lot of potential. And last year, he just kind of fell off the map. He's been a non-factor, really, on defense. Now, Pederson says the Eagles are keeping Jason Kelce. Again, there's been trade rumors about Kelce. I don't know. Is he the odd man out of this crowded offensive line situation? I don't know. Remains to be seen. So he's expecting Kelce and Kendricks to still be here. Let's see. Other than that, it was really, again, to sum things up, talking about Carson Wentz, where he was at, and not the physical location as to where, but where he's at as the starting quarterback here of the Philadelphia Eagles in terms of his development. Doug Pederson, he said no arm issues for Wentz. On what adjustment Wentz has to make on his throwing motion, Doug said probably not much. Pederson said he isn't concerned about mechanics in coaching Wentz. Saw it in the offseason. It's always the head coach and the quarterback, Pederson says, when asked how much his job is tied to Wentz's success. So that's pretty much that. Pretty much wraps things up. That the essence of things Doug Pederson had to say. And again, maybe not a whole lot.
Gosh, it went great.
But again, what do you expect? Doug Pederson, he never really has any major noteworthy things to say, I guess. He has a way of praising his guys, which he likes to say a lot, guys. But some moderately interesting things, I guess you could say, as we move forward here, closer and closer to the draft. We just got a few weeks now, and of course, again, the NFL schedule is coming out, I believe, in the next week. So we will discuss as that comes out here on the Tyler Werner Show. We'll have our preliminary rundown and predictions of the schedule and discussion as we move through the month of April here, closer to the draft, into spring. Well, we're in spring, but you know what I mean. As we move through spring and the warmer weather. Stay tuned for more next time on the Tyler Werner Show. Get your fill of Philadelphia sports talk. Share your thoughts, discussions, comments, what have you, on this video, on the YouTube channel, or on the Facebook page, as we discuss right here on the Tyler Werner Show. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you. Well, see ya. We'll talk to you next week.